In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about judgy bitches, the perfect cocoa selection, immediate death, and having just enough acid in our discussion of Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover. Podcast about young adult and new adult and sometimes other books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're going to discuss Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up. Oh.
It's book club!
It's book club. It's our book club book. And the chat is already going in Discord, which is amazing. So,
yes.
Attention, listeners. Join our Discord to talk to us about this book. It's super fun.
Yes. You
We're
can
having a
get
great
the
time.
link on our socials at Fictional Hangover everywhere,
Yes. Yes.
with caveats.
It was good. Yeah.
Oh, let's dive in. Give me some background information.
Let's dive in. Okay, so I got this from Nerdist.com. And this article was, it came out before the 7th book came out? Maybe the 8th book, because we're on book 9 right now. Book 9 is coming out in just a couple of weeks. So it might have been before book 8 came out. But anyway, so there was a little bit of information about all of the books, and it was supposedly non-spoilery, but I felt like if I hadn't already read all the series, I would have been spoiled. But I took this bit from the beginning. It made me really happy, and it's just a couple of paragraphs, so I'm just going to read them.
Cool.
Lee Harris, an old acquaintance of Seanan's, was hired by Macmillan to start an imprint, Tor.com Publishing, which I feel like the majority of our books probably come from Tor, right? A lot of them. Many of them.
A high percentage, yeah.
Yes.
We like Tor.
We do. So, Seanan recalled, he contacted me and said, "You're pretty nice, and I don't usually want to kill you with a stick. How would you like to come and write something for my new imprint?"
Oh, that's so kind.
And I thought this was a brilliant idea and asked him how much editorial oversight would I have on the first book. And he said, "Pretty much none. We don't have much money, so we're not paying you as much as we usually would. Therefore, we will not tell you what to do." Which that sounds great, by the way. So she goes on. This presented the opportunity that Seanan had been waiting for. She said, "Hey, can I do a boarding school for survivors of portal fantasies?" And he said, "No one is going to read that." "Certainly." So now, with a new book about to be released, we can say that, a handful of people have read them. So he was wrong.
He was wrong. Ha. Take that.
No one's going to read them.
That is the positivity that you need going into a new venture.
Yeah.
That's true friendship there.
I don't want to kill you with a stick. Do you want to?
But I will kill your dreams.
Oh, I really enjoyed that. You know what though? Moving over into initial thoughts. I've read all of these before, and you haven't read them. So, when I was first introduced to them, someone told me to read them, and actually, it's our good friend and moderate super fan on Instagram, Glam Jen. Glam Jen told me to read these books, and she was like, "Yeah, the first one's called Every Heart a Doorway," and I went, really? You want me to read
Oh, she
that?
judged a book by its title.
I judged the book by the title, and I did not think that I would love it, but I finally read it. And I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I read these so much sooner? They're so good. So that's my initial thought.
Because you judged a book by its title.
I judged.
You judgy bitch.
Judgy bitch. What about you? Did you have any initial thoughts? Did you judge the book by the title, or did I tell you too much about it, but you didn't even get a chance to judge?
I didn't really judge the book by its title. The one thing I remember thinking, I hope it isn't like, was it 1,000 Doors in January?
Oh, yeah, 1,000 Doors of January, yeah.
Because the book wasn't great, but the audio narration was sublime.
Stellar audio.
Stellar. And I was thinking, oh, please don't let this be another version of that. Because it seemed to have a somewhat similar, like...
Yeah, well, it's a portal fantasy.
Yeah. But no, it's really nice. It's compact. It doesn't beat around the bush. It's got some weird ass shit going on, which I devour.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited, and I was so excited that it wasn't a conscious decision. We'd already had it on our schedule for quite some time now.
Yes.
Because, actually we do plan things, guessing people.
We do.
And this month's book club theme is Late to the Party, because it's Late to the Party because I've A, never read them, and B, we've never covered them on the podcast.
Yes.
So it's a perfect fit
Yeah.
for our book club theme this month, which is also fantastic because it's now our book club read.
Yes, because we resurrected the book club.
Discord. We've resurrected the book club on Discord. Come join us. And it wasn't consciously going to be our book club read. We just kind of started talking about it with what people who were interested in book club and our regular super fans and stuff, and they were like, yeah, we want to read it, we'll read it. And it helps in part, I think, because it is an accessible book to get via libraries.
Yes.
Physical or audio book.
Yes. It's been out for a while, so not everyone's clambering to get it.
Exactly, which makes things a heck of a lot easier. But also, it's not long. I think the audiobook was 5 hours at normal speed, which is
tiny,
fantastic because it means that you can join in the book club at a low commitment.
Yes,
we're not forcing too much down people, or people can pick it up a little bit easy and squeeze it in to the regular reading schedule. It's a nice chill, low commitment book club.
Yeah.
And I really just I enjoy the whole thing's just kind of come together so nicely.
Yes.
So my initial thoughts are yay.
All that to say yay. All right, let's get started. Eleanor West runs a boarding school for troubled teens just stepping into adulthood. She tells the parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and or siblings of those dropped off there that she understands they're worried and wants to do what's best for her charges. She tells them that sometimes they suffer delusions and that maybe some time away will help them heal. She's lying to them, of course. She believes what the so-called troubled teens have been through and wants them to get back to where they're supposed to be. Hopefully, she'll get to go back to where she belongs someday, too.
Oh.
What?
Intrigue already? Nancy, dressed in black and white with white hair with streaks of black, slowly makes her way up the steps of the manor house that is Eleanor West's School for Wayward Children. The foyer inside is elegant and antique, and so is the white-haired woman walking down the stairs. Well, she would be elegant if she weren't wearing crazy clashing colours. Eleanor gets a good look at Nancy, who is standing perfectly still, and deduces she is from an underworld, which is correct. Eleanor takes Nancy to her room to meet her roommate Sumi, who did not visit an underworld at all.
No. Sumi is not like Nancy, even a little bit and thinks that Nancy is stupid for wanting to go back to her underworld with her stupid dyed hair. But Nancy explains her hair used to be all black until it was stroked by the Lord of the Dead, who loved her very much, but sent her through a doorway and back into her old world, this world where they currently are, so she could make sure that she wanted to stay with him forever. She wants to more than anything, but now she can't get back. She longs for the stillness and darkness of her underworld, but she's here now with a roommate who is bright and colorful and constantly moving and folding origami and playing with string.
And is also a judgy bitch, by the way. I'm just going to put that in there.
Nancy opens her suitcase to unpack and finds that her parents, hoping to convince her to get back to her old self before she was kidnapped, swapped all her black and white clothes with a rainbow of colors, which she doesn't like anymore. Sumi does, though.
How to win friends over, give them a wardrobe.
Yes.
Sumi takes Nancy's suitcase and leaves the room, and Nancy has no idea what's going on, so she follows her ridiculously fast roommate at her crawling death-like pace down the hallways and up to the attic. Can I just say at this point, I'm relating so hard to Nancy. Like, she is my inner self, I feel like. I'm just putting it out there. Inside the attic is Cade, a boy who's a remarkable sewist. He keeps up with all the clothes the well-meaning parents try to force their wayward children into, and also makes new things. He swaps Nancy's rainbow out with clothing that is more suited to her tastes, black and white and classy. Back in their room before going to dinner, Sumi asks Nancy if she's sexually interested in Cade, and explains that Cade used to be a girl, but when he went through his doorway, everyone there finally realised he's actually a boy. Nancy is not interested in anyone sexually, boy or girl, and she still doesn't really understand what's going on at this school. Sumi declares her one true love is a candy corn farmer.
I love just the little drops of how, like, bonkers
Oddness.
Sumi
Yeah.
is compared to Nancy.
Yeah.
Candy corn farmer. What? Okay.
Have you never had that candy corn farmer moment?
I've not.
Oh, I think you're missing out.
I still have time.
You still have time.
No,
Find
I
that
don't.
door.
I don't want a candy corn farmer. Now it's time to eat, and Nancy remembers what cafeterias in her old life were like. She notices that the school is made up overwhelmingly of girls and prepares herself to find a seat. Eleanor makes an announcement that Nancy is new and still getting adjusted to things, so everyone should be on their best behavior for a little while. She also requests that no one kill each other right now. Like, keep all the blood on the inside for now.
Can we have 5 minutes, please? You know, they've got the sign that says number of days without without a bloody incident.
Yes.
It just lives permanently at 0.
Yeah. Eleanor privately tells Nancy that she'll have a therapy session later that will help her understand everything that's going on around her. So that's good, because she has no idea what is happening. Nancy finds Sumi sitting at a table with twins, Jack, short for Jacqueline, and Jill, short for Jillian. Jack tries to explain the doors that people go through, like a compass, and how they lead to places that are either logic or nonsense-based, and then that they tend to either be wicked or virtuous, and this is all very confusing.
All I want is some orientation. Oh, is it too much to ask for a prospectus? Anywho. Therapy that night is not as enlightening as Nancy hoped. She needs a prospectus. It's led by Lundy, a seemingly 8-year-old woman, and its focus is on people who travel to wicked places. Lundy quickly explains about her childlike appearance. She made a deal with the Fae to stay younger than 18 because that's when she would be being kicked out of her world. You don't make deals with the Fae.
Don't make deals with the Fae. Do not. Nah, Fox.
No, Fox. Now she's aging in reverse, 1 week every month. After this brief explanation, all those who went through wicked doors have a chance to speak if they want to, and finally it is Nancy's turn. She doesn't think that she went to a wicked place at all, though there are severe punishments for breaking rules, because the Lord of the Dead was very kind. Cade and Jack interject that these descriptions of wicked or virtuous or whatever are subjective, which brings their session to an end for the night, and we all cheer because that's perfect sense.
Yes. The next day, Nancy goes to orientation with Lundy. Feel like we should have started with orientation with Lundy.
Oh, orientation is well overdue.
Even though it's only the next day. But still, so much has happened.
Nah, Fox, that needs to be first thing. You step in there and you get orientation.
Lundy describes all the things Nancy's been confused about in a very confusing way, and at the end of her session, she asks if Nancy has any questions. Yeah, about 1 million. She manages to ask one question that Lundy says everyone asks. How many get to go back through their doors? Lundy explains that some people, like herself and Eleanor, got to go through their doors several times, but generally, not many have that opportunity. And if they do, well, she doesn't know about it because they've gone. She insists to Nancy that they are trying to teach everyone there to move on, whether that be back through their door or just on with their lives.
Nancy leaves orientation and all she wants to do is cry. She rushes outside faster than she normally moves and bursts into tears. Jill is there and talks about her master, who was definitely a vampire, and how he didn't like Jack, who was too unladylike for his tastes. When he opened a door to send Jack through, Jill came tumbling after, unfortunately. She is certain that her master will find a way for her to return, just like Nancy is certain she'll return to her lord. Jill leaves and then Cade speaks. He was sitting above the girls in a tree as they chatted and now has hopped down to talk to Nancy. Cade talks about his world, Prism, and how he was kicked out for something he would never change, being a boy. He still misses Prism and everything he learned there, but he can't and doesn't want to go back.
This just makes me think of Unfamiliar with the babies in the basket. You know, it's like, oh, they're always taking those babies. But, you know, they're always taking girls.
Yeah.
Whoops. Sorry, Cade.
Oops.
But at least Cade got to be who he actually is, so that's great.
Exactly.
But it's sad that he got kicked out. It sucks. Sucks for Cade.
Yeah, it does.
Nancy starts lessons a couple of days later. Some are regular, normal school classes and are taught by teachers that drive in from town. There are also electives like music and art, and one class that is perfectly suited to this school: a traveler's history of the Great Compass. In this class, Nancy learns more about the doors being nonsensical, logical, wicked, and virtuous. There are other smaller directions on the compass, but as per usual, it's all very confusing. Though most nonsense worlds are virtuous and most logical worlds are wicked, Nancy really thinks that her underworld is logical and virtuous, which is entirely possible. She talks with Sumi that night before she runs off somewhere to do something nonsensical and tries to learn how old she is. But Sumi answers in a riddle, because of course she does.
Nancy wakes up the next morning to screaming. She assumes it's Sumi screaming about something ridiculous because that seems like something she would do, but she's alone in their room. Nancy leaves, trying to find the source of the screaming, and, well, yeah, she was kind of right. The screaming has to do with Sumi, but it's because she's dead and her hands are missing.
Damn it!
Lots of the students gather around and Nancy thinks they'll all think she's responsible because she came from an underworld. But Eleanor assures them all that that's not true. Then Jack arrives and the accusations begin. Cade suggests Nancy take Jack to her room and he says he will find Jill. Nancy takes Jack by the hand and they go to the room she shared with Sumi. Isn't Mio taking Jack by the hand as a little insensitive to what's just happened to Sumi?
I know. Stop taking hands.
That's
It's
really
not
insensitive.
okay. It's also insensitive because Jack doesn't like that. But we don't know that yet.
No, we don't know that.
We
yet.
know it about right now, though, because...
We know that Sumi's lost her hands,
Yes.
but we don't know about Jack.
Yes. Jack meticulously wipes her hands clean after arriving in Nancy's room and tells the story of the life she and Jill had and the door they went through. The twins' parents wanted their girls to be just so. Jack was to be pretty and Jill was to be smart, but it should have been the other way around. But all because it was easier to brush Jack's hair one day. She became the pretty one.
No.
Their parents didn't seem to care for them at all, so when they found a stairway in a trunk leading to a mysterious door, they went in and to a land with moors under a red moon. Jack was cared for by a mad scientist who taught her of reanimating bodies with lightning, and Jill had the master, a vampire, who promised Jill she could become his daughter one day. Things went wrong, though, and the scientist made a door for them to return. Jack knew it would be safer for them, so she went willingly, but Jill had to be sedated. Now, here they are. I love how vastly different Jack's story is from Jill's story.
Yes.
Who's telling the truth?
Though I always envisioned their world like the classic Universal horror movies with Dr. Frankenstein and Nosferatu and Dracula. Like, it was that kind of... That's how I saw their world.
Yeah.
Anywho. Cade comes to Nancy's room and he, Nancy and Jack clean up Sumi's belongings, taking most everything to the attic. Cade says he'll stay in Nancy's room with her that night because it's not safe to be alone. They talk about how everyone will think Jack and Jill are responsible because of where they came from, especially Jack, since she learned how, in easy to understand terms, to create Frankenstein's monsters. Love it. Jack would not have left an entire body behind, though, and definitely would have used all of Sumi's parts, just wasteful otherwise, so she seems unlikely she's the killer. Who could it be, though? Interesting.
When they thought everyone would think Jack was responsible for Sumi's death, they were not wrong. Later, at dinner, a mean girl called L'Oreal and a friend of hers dump a bowl of soup on Jack, which is quite distressing for her as she does not like to be messy. Nancy stands up for Jack and tries to follow her out of the cafeteria, but Cade catches up and tells her that Jack and Jill will be fine.
That night, at their group therapy session, L'Oreal continues to call Jack a murderer, but Lundy finally puts a stop to it and asks L'Oreal to describe where her door took her. She travelled to a tiny land with a spider queen and a wasp prince, and, like Nancy's door taught her to be strong and still, L'Oreal's gave her exceptional vision because, after all, to be so tiny, you need to be able to see tiny things. Eleanor joins them then and tells them that not all of them will find their doors again, which leads to a boy, Christopher, who carries what looks to be a bone flute, to ask why Eleanor's door stayed, and a discussion on door stability that causes another boy to get angry and curse out C.S. Lewis. I don't know about you, but cursing out C.S. Lewis is a regular occurrence, so this isn't odd to me. Eleanor sends everyone to bed after that because clearly emotions are frazzled and tensions are high.
Sorry.
Do you not curse out C.S. Lewis at a regular occurrence?
You know...
Shakespeare gets it as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that night, L'Oreal is murdered.
Oh no.
Wah wah.
Womp womp. She's a judgy bitch, I don't care.
Oh, but you were calling me a judgy bitch earlier.
Yeah, well, I care if you got murdered. You'd be the murderer, so...
That's true,
you know,
I would. Also, Sumi is a judgy bitch. Everyone's judgy today.
Sumi's a judgy bitch. L'Oreal's a judgy bitch. You were a judgy bitch, but then you changed your mind, so it's fine.
L'Oreal's roommate, Angela, who went through a door where she could run on rainbows, discovered her on the lawn, which was not entirely unusual, as L'Oreal often looked for her door outside when she couldn't sleep. Like Sumi's hands were taken, L'Oreal was missing her eyes.
Oh, it's definitely you.
It was me.
Suspect numero uno.
Lundy and Eleanor gather everyone together during breakfast to tell them what happened, and Eleanor asks for help in getting rid of L'Oreal's body, while Lundy doesn't think any of this is appropriate. Eleanor thinks that telling one family their runaway daughter ran away instead of that she was murdered would keep everyone else safer. So that's what she decides to do.
Fair. Jack, Christopher and Nancy volunteer to dispose of L'Oreal because they have the most experience dealing with the dead, and Cade squeamishingly tags along. They carry L'Oreal down to the basement where Jack and Jill live and melt her skin off with acid. It's a fantastically described scene, by the way.
So good.
Krista reveals that might have been able to figure out who killed her by communicating with her skeleton, which is cool.
Yeah, so cool.
Jack wonders why he never told her about his bone skills before, and he reluctantly tells her because he loved having a social life, and if he told anyone about this time with his skeletons, they would treat him basically the same way they treat Jack and Jill. And Nancy. And everyone who didn't go to a world full of rainbows and candy and sunshine. Which is understandable, but also it's really sad.
It's really sad. It's really
God, everybody's judgy in this.
No, judgy bitches.
Judgy bitches everywhere.
While L'Oreal's skin melts...
Say that sentence again, I loved it. Say it again.
While L'Oreal's skin melts, they decide to go look for Jill. Jack has no idea where she would be because, honestly, they're not friends. They're sisters. They just stick together because of circumstance. Nancy and Cade decide to go look outside while Jack and Christopher go to the cafeteria and their classrooms, and they plan to meet back up in Cade's attic regardless of if they find her or not. No one finds Jill, though Nancy and Cade run into Lundy, who very obviously thinks that Nancy is responsible for the deaths because she's the new person and because she's from a death world, and she's friends with Jack. This upsets Nancy, but it's kind of logical for everyone to think that.
It's kind of judgy for everyone
Judgy.
to think that.
Judgy bitches all over the place.
In Cade's attic, Jack has made everyone hot cocoa to match with their tastes because, as she astutely points out, cooking is basically science, and she's a mad scientist. I just love this so goddamn much. Nancy's cocoa has pomegranate molasses mixed in because that's a key fruit in the underworld. Christopher's has cinnamon, Cade's has clotted cream fudge, and Jack's has saline solution and wolfsbane to taste like tears from the nose. Why aren't Starbucks doing these flavours? I need them all now.
I don't know.
Ultimate barista skills. If she could make it taste like the sound of screaming, she would.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
I would just like to add in as an aside here, this is where you should know 100% that Jack is my favorite character.
If nobody's picked up that we absolutely freaking adore Jack by now, they're not listening. They're being a judgy bitch.
Judgy bitches.
Ultimate cocoa selection.
Yes. As they sit drinking their cocoa, they talk about how Sumi's hands were the best thing about her, and the same about L'Oreal's eyes. Jack says her mad scientist, Dr. Bleak, would sometimes send her out collecting parts to create the best thing, and that sounds an awful lot like what is happening right now, except she's the only mad scientist at the school. Just then, Jill comes into the attic because it's the highest room in the school and the least likely place that Jack would be. Jill wonders why Jack left her alone for so long, and she replies that she was disposing of a body. Speaking of, the acid should have done its job by now.
Ooh.
Bing! Timer going off. Not just a random bing. That was.
I got
that
it.
was the
I
time.
got
Okay.
it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. You just made it awkward now. Jack and Christopher go down to the basement, and yes, the acid has worked. Christopher plays his bone flute, and though no sound comes out that Jack can hear, she sees L'Oreal's skeleton rise from the acid bath.
So cool.
So cool. Jack begins to ask a million questions, but Christopher can't answer because then he'd have to stop playing. Christopher gestures to the stairs, and Jack understands that Christopher is going to lead L'Oreal outside to bury her. They walk away through Eleanor's property to an area that is wild and overgrown, before Christopher plays a skeleton to its burial. Jack asks her 2 questions. Can she understand her? A nod in the affirmative. And then, who killed you? The skeleton that was L'Oreal slowly rises a finger to point at nothing beside Jack.
Wow.
Well, maybe she couldn't understand after all.
Shrug.
Christopher continues to play his flute, and L'Oreal's skeleton walks itself down into the ground. How handy is that?
It's so handy.
Yeah, I like that.
Back at the school, Eleanor calls an assembly. Since her door is still open to her, she offers to let any student who could survive in a nonsense world pass through it and hide there, or stay there if they prefer. She also says any students who wish to may go back home with their parents. All of this makes her very sad because she wants to keep them all safe, but isn't doing a very good job at the moment.
No. It's graded needs improvement.
Yeah. She cries into Cade as he hugs her, and he tells Nancy that Eleanor is his great-great-great-aunt, and that one day, assuming the school doesn't get shut down, immediately on account of all the murders, it will be his, and he'll continue keeping kids safe that return from their doorways.
Cade and Christopher stay the night in Nancy's room, and they wake up when they hear screaming. The 3 of them head outside and find another body. This time, it's Lindy, and her brain is missing.
Damn it.
As they try to figure out what to do and who would do such a thing, L'Oreal's friend group, led by Angela, arrives at the scene, accusing them of murder and of kidnapping their friend, Serafina. Nancy has no idea who that even is, and neither do we at this point because we've never mentioned them. Angela tells Nancy, Christopher and Cade that she and her friends went to the nice worlds with rainbows and sparkles, not ghosts and bones, and deciding that girls can be boys if they want to be. Fucking yikes.
Seriously. Ugh.
Judgy
bitches.
Even Angela's friends think that's a pretty disgusting comment. Good.
Yeah.
And so does Eleanor, who arrives at that same time. She sends everyone back to their rooms, and as they get back to the school, Angela doubles down on Cade, but Christopher stands up for him. Before they go back inside, Jack calls out to them. She's bleeding from her shoulder, and then she passes out.
Damn it.
Angela, fuck off, Angela.
Jerk. Cade and Christopher carry Jack inside, and Nancy, as she does sometimes when she gets scared or nervous, goes completely still, like she always did in her underworld. She felt safe, but only for a moment. For just a moment later, she saw Jill walk by with blood on her mouth.
Ooh.
After Jill walks by, Nancy unfreezes herself and rushes inside to tell her friends and Eleanor that Jill is the one responsible, and Jack agrees and apologizes for not realizing sooner. She gets up and goes after her sister, and Nancy, Cade, and Christopher follow. Jack knows that Jill will be going to the attic because she knows what she's doing. She's trying to build a skeleton key to open the door to the moors.
Ooh. In the attic, Jill has Serafina tied to a table. Nancy tries to stop her from hurting the girl, but Jill is only concerned with building the perfect girl with all the best parts because no door would be out of a perfect girl's reach. Nancy pleads with Jill that she's keeping these girls from moving on to their afterlives, but Jill doesn't care. All she wants to do is get back to her master where she belongs. But as she's monologuing, Jack sneaks up behind her sister and stabs her with a pair of scissors.
Excellent. With her sister dead, Jack tells them that Dr. Bleak only kept Jill away because she was turning into a monster whilst trying to become a vampire, and the townsfolk through their doorway didn't want her there anymore. But because Jack wouldn't leave her sister by herself, she went through the doorway with her back into this world. Now that Jill is dead, though Jack will be bringing her back to life momentarily, Jack is able to go through the doorway again and cuts it into the air with the bloody scissors. Jill will never be able to become a vampire now, so she can go back to their world too, though she probably won't be very happy about it when she comes back to life.
No. With Jack and Jill gone, the rest of the semester passes peacefully. Nancy's parents have been begging her to come back home, and while that's pretty much the exact last thing she wants to do, she agrees to go so that maybe they'll let her come back to Eleanor's school when the next semester begins. She still wants to go through her doorway back to her underworld, but knows that might not happen, and is okay with that. Maybe she'll get to be the Lundy to Cade's Eleanor, and together the two of them will run the school and keep wayward children safe for years to come.
Cade brings Nancy her suitcase filled with rainbow clothes to appease her parents, and when she opens it to look at the colorful clothes inside, she sees a note from Sumi that she must have snuck in that very first day. The note tells Nancy that nobody gets to tell her how her story ends but her, and when she finally accepts that as true, her doorway appears. Nancy walks through into the underworld full of pomegranates and stillness, and is finally happy again.
Oh.
End!
Oh. Oh.
Such a good ending.
Hi, I'm Bethany Finger, the host of Prince Kai Fan Pod, a Marissa Meyer Book Club podcast. Join me every week during my read-along journey through all of the books by author Marissa Meyer, one chapter at a time, spoiler-free. Each episode will feature a different guest, new fan art, and laughter and joy through reading. You can find Prince Kai Fan Pod on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all other listening platforms. And now, back to the show.
How do you move on from that?
Oh, seriously. I guess you just hop right in and start talking about what happened. Standout moments.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that you can do.
It is. It's our doorway.
Our doorway full of judgy bitches.
Oh my god, so many judgy bitches.
So many judgy bitches.
I couldn't believe it, actually. And I noticed it when I was reading it, how judgy people were. But because it's interspersed with a lot more narrative and storytelling and stuff, didn't notice it quite so much as when, obviously, it's been boiled down into the summary. And it's like, whoa, it's really bad. Everybody's a dickhead.
Yeah.
So yeah. Judgy bitches abound.
Judgy bitches. I think one of my favorite things about this book, and the rest of the series as well, is that everything goes really, really quickly, but at the same time it doesn't feel too rushed. It's like you just get the little bits of stuff that you need to progress the story, and there's not a whole lot of fluff and a whole lot of, oh, but I dismissed my underworld and now I'm going to sit still for 8 hours and not talk to anyone, but I'm going to describe everything that I'm doing while I'm sitting still. That doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. It's like, I miss the underworld. Okay, moving on to the next part of the book. I really appreciate that. It just boils it down to the essentials. And it's not missing a single thing, is it?
No.
You still get the impression that they desperately want to go back to their worlds.
Yes.
Or that they're resolved never to go back to their worlds.
Yes.
You know, you still get the sense of who the characters are. You just don't have pages or hours of exposition that is needless, which I don't know if that says a lot about how books are, or how they're designed for specific readers, or there's got to be some sort of tale that it tells you something. It tells you something.
Yeah, but like at the same time, I like reading books that are 800 pages long.
Oh yeah, but as long as it's not 800 pages of waffle.
Yes.
I think what this does is teach you that actually you can tell a story without having, like we say, all that exposition.
Yeah.
You get to the point. The journey's there, and everything was excellent, and you get a very big sense of each of the characters.
Yes. And I liked how many characters there were, and that they're all very different, but they're all very similar as well. Like Christopher and Jack and Jill and Nancy all went to these like death-themed, underworld, creepy, scary sort of places. And so while they're all of their worlds are very, very different, they're able to get along really well with each other. And like I just really, really like that. Though I hate that Christopher didn't connect with Jack sooner.
Yeah.
Because he was worried because everyone, essentially bullied Jack and Jill. And he didn't want to go through that, which is understandable. But it sucks.
It does. I liked the core of Cade and Christopher and Jack and Nancy. I like that the logical underworld one. I think it's because I probably relate to them a bit more. Like, somewhat spoilers for going for the Would You Rather. I do not like the rainbows and sparkles and the sunshines, and I'm a girl that appreciates glitter.
Yes.
But as I've said on the outside, I am black.
Yeah, and see,
Like,
I'm dead on
my aesthetic is goth.
Yes. See, I'm dead on the inside, but sparkly on the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I like that, and you said it earlier, that you imagined Jack and Jill's world being like a Dracula or a Frankenstein movie, and they are described as that. Those are Hammer films.
Yeah.
And like, it's so perfect because that's exactly how she describes their world. And then everyone talks about it being how their world is described. So it's so good. She's so like succinct. And
it gets the point, and it gets the visualization, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just love it.
You can see the cinematic nature of this book.
Yes. Oh, could you imagine the scene with L'Oreal's bones rising from the acid while Christopher's just sitting over there playing a little flute?
Yes.
That would be so cool. It would be so cool.
I wish, and as much as I did enjoy the series, but Wednesday on Netflix, I wish this would be made into a TV series instead of Wednesday.
It would be so good.
Because, I mean, to be fair, Sumi and Wednesday, Nancy, Sumi is as the best friend, and I cannot remember.
Yeah, I
her
know.
name.
I just went blank as well.
And Nancy is Wednesday.
Yes.
You can see it, can't you?
Yes.
You can see.
Yes.
It's exactly that, and it's like, well, what came first?
I mean, the Addams family came before wayward children.
Yes, but in you did, but in terms of
Enid.
Enid, thank you.
Yes.
The aesthetics between Enid and Wednesday,
Yeah.
it's Nancy and Sumi, and this came first, and it would have been nice to have seen it because especially with YA, it's all it's especially in adaptations, it's kind of taken this like twist where it's not happy perky rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's swords and blood and death and magic and mysticism and fantasy, and they're saying, oh, well, our audience are aimed at YA, but it's parents can enjoy it as well. But also our audience are not stupid.
Yeah.
They don't want trivial things. They don't need to have boy problems.
No.
Their problems are, oh shit, somebody's died and that person's being a judgy bitch over there.
Yeah. Oh, my roommate died immediately.
We had no time to form a connection.
No, because of immediate death, which we've talked about several books lately that contain immediate death, and we love them. And so here's another one with immediate death.
I don't want to build a connection with a particular character. I want those characters to die.
Yes.
Just let's get it in there.
Something else that I appreciated about this book is how everyone is okay with Nancy being asexual. Although Cade didn't quite realize it at first, and then she kind of explained it. You're like, I don't really want to go out on a date with anyone. And he's like, oh, damn. And she's like, no. I mean, anyone. Like, ever. I don't want to do that. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's be best friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Drug. Great. And the same with Cade being a boy, even though Angela was a judgy bitch about it. Like, everyone else is fine.
Because that's how it should be.
Because that's how it should be in real life. It's amazing.
It's not all black and white.
Well, Nancy is.
Nancy is, aesthetically.
I would like to see her hair. Because her hair was all black. Except for where
there was a stroke.
Yeah. So then all of the rest of the color leached away because it was jealous. Like, how fun is that?
Also, how is it like a strict strand, or does it kind of like, because if you stroked your hair, it's not just one strand. It kind of half goes into other hair as well.
Yeah, I do that all the time. The time push my hair back with my hand.
Just doing it now.
Yeah.
Like, you might have one or two, like a little bit that's full strand, but half of your hair is going to get touched. So does that mean perpetually? Because that's not how hair works.
No. And Sumi did comment on how she had a shitty dye job. So yeah, it probably just looks. Well, it probably doesn't look great.
No, and it doesn't. So it doesn't matter where on that hair it was touched. It was that hair was touched.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. So it would be from root to tip that she'll have a weird streak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little. I kind of got Rogue from X-Men kind of.
Yeah, I could see that. Although aesthetic. I don't imagine if someone
Frankenstein's Bride.
Maybe more Frankenstein's Bride, because I feel like if someone was running their fingers through your hair, they probably wouldn't start at your forehead. It would probably be like back here, in the back, on the side, something.
Yeah.
That was.
It depends on how they're facing you.
Yeah, it's a very long and weird conversation that really has nowhere to go because we have no idea.
Well, considering how we feel about other people touching hair as well, it's like, stop stroking my hair. No, you are not brushing my hair. Put the brush down.
Do not brush someone else's hair.
No. Can we please talk about casually disintegrating the flesh of a skeleton with acid?
Yes. I don't
feel like I need to say too much more than that, but other than that, cool.
No, but oh my god, that scene. I love it so much because I don't remember who it was who said it, but Cade and Christopher and Nancy are down there with Jack and her acid, and they're like, why do you have so much acid? And she's like, well, it seems that I don't have too much acid. I have the perfect amount of acid. Like,
yes.
That's not what we're talking about. Why do you have it?
Isn't it fortunate that I have the acid in the first place? But why do you have it?
Why do you have the acid?
And they're just looking.
Yeah.
Just looking at you. And playing the bone flute.
Oh, so cool.
Amazing. The Jack and Jill. I mean, as soon as you heard Jack and Jill, I was like, yeah, okay, which one of them's doing it? Which one's the bad one? Yeah.
Which one's the bad one? Because then it's the other one.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there's always, you know, when you have twins, there's usually a creepy one and there's usually a perky one. I never trust the perky twin. No. Ever. I don't trust perky people. I mean, how? That's always my question with perkiness.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
But it's like, Jack, it could never have been Jack.
No.
Otherwise, it would have been the biggest, it would have been my surprise, number one, and it would have been a huge plot twist. Like, it was Jack, because Jack was just such a good character in terms of, like, you know, you understood Jack's motivation, you understood why Jack was the way that they were, and, you know, just got this really sense of the logicalness behind them, and, you know, there was just, Jack's just a good character.
Yes. And
it would be devastating if it turns out that Jack was a murderer and, you know, no more Jack. So it was like, well, Jill's never really there, and there were hints in between, especially L'Oreal's skeleton pointing at the space next to Jack.
Yeah.
Hello.
But I liked how immediately they were like, or there was the setup, like, does she understand? If I ask her a question, is she going to be able to answer? And Christopher's like, you know. And when she asks, like, can you understand me? She only, like, tilts her head down. So you don't really know.
It's not a definitive yes.
Yes. And then, you know, you point over there. Well, fuck. Like, she doesn't understand. But I don't know. It was just so... It's so good.
Yeah. It wasn't a massive surprise that it turned out to be Jill being a murderer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised that no one realized it was Jill. Especially Jack.
Yeah. I also kind of think, well, Jack only tolerated Jill.
Yeah.
Because they were sisters.
Yeah, and she kind of did... Everyone kind of treated Jill like she was just like a ditzy nothing. Like, no one cares about her because all she wants to do is wear frilly dresses and become a vampire, which, you know what? Understandable. But she didn't have a lot of substance.
Yeah.
No one gave her a lot of credit for anything. So that was also really well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But completely 100% obvious that she was the murderer.
Yes. I don't know how I don't know how many pages the physical book is, because I listened to the audiobook, which is really, really well done.
Yes.
Which character was from Oklahoma?
Cade.
Was it Cade?
Yeah. Cade.
And Cade has this fantastic twang, and every time Cade was on, I was thinking about superfan Annie, and how she'll be so happy that there is an Oklahoma character.
Yes.
So I was like, yes, she'll be so happy. But, you know,
so 169 pages in this.
How many, sorry?
169.
Wow. That's, to me, a massive selling point for the book. The fact it's short and it tells such a good story in so few pages. And I'm feeling very protective over Nancy and Jack and Cade and Christopher. Like, I do not want anything bad to happen to these characters.
Yeah.
And it's done that in 165 pages.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say apart from it's such a good book, and I'm looking forward to the other ones and the possibilities that the other worlds are going to bring.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's exciting. Like, it really is. Like, I'd love to meet Dr. Bleak.
Yeah.
Oh, and who was engaged to the Born princess?
Christopher.
The Born girl.
Christopher with his skeleton girl.
Skeleton girl, yes.
And then, like, but his family, when he ran away, in quotes, you know, they think that he just fell in love with a girl who was really anorexic and she died. They're like, can you remember her name, sweetie? You keep calling her Skeleton Girl, but what's her real name? Because we need to tell her family that she's dead. And he's like, nah,
she's not dead.
She's actually a skeleton. Jack and Christopher were my favorite characters, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack definitely was. And like the rest of the, I don't know, I really like Cade as well.
I like Cade too, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm sorry it's gonna happen. I'm gonna say Jack, I'm gonna say Christopher, I'm gonna say Cade, and I'm gonna say Nancy. I really like those four.
Yeah.
And I refuse to boil it down any further than that. You will have to get flesh disintegrating acid, and I don't think you have any left.
Because you had just enough.
Because you had just enough.
I know that I haven't done this in a long time, but I'm really excited that, one, that you liked this book as much as you did, and that we're going to continue it as our book club series, and that we're going to talk about all of the rest of them throughout the year. But I've read them all, apart from, the newest one that's not out yet. But I just can't wait for you to experience the other books, because they're done in such an interesting and intriguing way.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we had it as one of our private discussions that when we were talking about this year and what we wanted to cover or do, or etc. That I said it'd be nice to actually cover a series again.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's been too long since we've done a series from end to end. I can't remember, apart from Twilight last year, at the beginning of last year, when we've done that.
No, we didn't.
I mean,
because the year before
the unfamiliar comics we have, because the second one came out and we've done the second one, so but that's like ongoing again. But yeah.
Well, it's because of Sookie. We got so burned out on Sookie the year before. But I don't have that fear this time with this series, because it's known. It could be a spoiler, but it's known if you look into any information about this series that every other book takes place. Book 1 is at the school, book 2 is in another world, book 3 is at the school, book 4 is in another world. It's very widely known, but that could have been a spoiler, so if it was, I'm sorry. But
you've already did a spoiler alert, it's fine.
Right. But I don't think, we got a little bit tired of Sookie. I don't think that that's going to happen with this series, because they're so vastly different. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, same. No, same. Like I say, when we had our private conversation, we'll talk about covering that series, and you said that each book is different. That it's not going to happen where we're going to have, and that was one of the big things with Sookie, was it was repetitive.
Yes.
And we had the same issues
yes.
over and over and over again. And in some, I mean, they weren't long books by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm sorry if I'm harking on about how compact and quick these ones are. It tells the story as much as the story needs to be told.
Yes.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yes.
Which I can completely appreciate. Again, it's going to make sure that our interest and the interest of the book club members is going to be kept, which is great. And the other bonus is, because we're covering one book every month and we're releasing the book club book episode fairly early in the month, it's first, second or third week, it means that we can have our ongoing conversation and people aren't, like we say, it's chill, it's low pressure, it's short enough for people to be able to catch up and join in the conversation as they work their way through the series as well.
Yeah.
Anywho, shall we move on to Would You Rather?
Yes, I believe that we should.
Would you rather? We asked on social media, would you rather live in a nonsense world that's probably virtuous, or a logical world that's probably wicked? Semantics, baby, semantics. On Facebook, it was a straight up 50-50. On Instagram, 57% said nonsense. On TikTok, 69% said nonsense. And on Threads, 67% said logical. I'm a little bit surprised by that. Bree on Facebook said, my alignment tends to be chaotic good in D&D. Let's fill the rest of the world with it. Virtuous nonsense.
Drew on Facebook says, I'm here for all the nonsense.
Emily on Facebook said, we all need nonsense in our lives.
Constance on Facebook said, I want wicked logic, thank you very much. I feel like virtuous nonsense would give me a headache.
Coral on Facebook said, I think I would do much better with logic to handle the wickedness.
Katrina on Facebook said, ooh, it's tough. I want logical, but also I don't want a wicked world. So I vote for nonsense.
Claire on Facebook said, I need logic. Things need to make sense. And that's not me, Claire. It's another Claire.
Glim Glam Jen on Instagram said, I absolutely want to live in a nonsense world. Of course, my world would be full of talking cats and rabbits and we'd go on a great adventure.
Not a rainbow in sight. I love it. Robin Wright Stuff on Instagram said, definitely a nonsense world.
And finally, Crinoline Lefroy on Threads said, nonsense world sounds easier to navigate. I may change my mind after reading. I'm really looking forward to this book.
Yes.
It's amazing. What do you pick?
Logical world.
Same.
Same with what Constance was saying. The nonsense world would give me a headache. I am not a fan of Alice in Wonderland. And that entire... Yeah, the entire thing. No. So
I think for me it's the wicked that I want, because obviously, hello, dead on the inside. But I like the logic of it as well. Like, I know that, like I said earlier, dead on the inside, sparkly on the outside. But I don't think I could keep up with running on rainbows and, you know, a candy corn farmer and just bonkers stuff all over the place.
See, I like the idea of Nancy when sometimes she just goes perfectly still.
Yeah.
I do that. Sometimes I do. I just stop. And I'm convinced I don't even breathe.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the aesthetic. It would be living my goth emo Halloween Hammer House of Horrors dream life.
Yes.
And I want bones. I want blood. I want a mad scientist laboratory in my basement.
Yeah.
I want a castle on a hill that has permanent lightning strikes going around and howls of wolves in the background.
Yes, and a blood red moon and screams being the flavor of your hot cocoa. Yes.
I want a graveyard with mounds permanently disturbed.
Yes.
That is fuels me.
Yes.
The idea fuels me.
Yes.
I'm wearing a witchy t-shirt today, even if it is in green as well. So I want that kind of
I'm wearing
gothic.
My Dead House hoodie.
See?
So, like, it's perfect.
Yeah. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
And we get to reanimate corpses, because who doesn't want to be a necromancer?
Right?
Or potentially a vampire?
Right? So good.
Open that door!
Yes. Okay. Would you rather have Sumi's hands or L'Oreal's eyes? Now, this could be you. You could, like, be really dexterous and be able to do things with your hands really well like Sumi can. Or you could have the eyes that L'Oreal has and be able to see really well. Which would you rather pick? Or, you
I
can
would
just
like-
collect them if you want to, if that's the way you want to take this question.
I'm going to give you my answer, which is I want the dexterity of Sumi's hands and I want L'Oreal's eyes in a jar.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I would like to be able to see really well, like L'Oreal, and then I'll have Sumi's hands, and she'll just hold all my rings.
Like, you could have like a monkey's paw.
Yes, but I don't want to make wishes and then bad things happen. Because that's what happens when you
You could
have
do
a
the
monkey
whole
paw.
talk to me thing.
Yes. Or, oh my gosh, I just went blank. Lost Girls? Was it Lost Girls? And we
Yes.
make
Art.
hand art. Yeah.
Yes.
But I really like, we didn't mention this in the summary, but L'Oreal, she can see so well and see all of the tiny things. She has to wear like carnival glasses to like distort her eyes so she doesn't, freak out in the regular world. So I would love to just have really cool sunglasses on all the time.
Well, you can wear those and still have Sumi's hands. You don't have to have the eyesight.
But I want the eyesight too. So
Well,
I'm
have
going
the
to take
eyesight
I'm
then.
going to take the eyesight and collect Sumi's hand.
I'm going to have the hands and collect the eyes.
Okay.
But not from you. I'm going to leave you your eyes.
Thank
I
you.
will take L'Oreal's eyes
Thank
and
you.
have them in a jar.
Yes. Yeah.
Please reciprocate.
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
Would you rather live in Nancy's underworld or in Christopher's Bourne world? And I'm not going to include anybody else's because it would ultimately boil down to these two, so we have to have the hard choice.
Okay. Gosh. I think I want to live in Christopher's Bone World. And we don't know just a ton about that. But Nancy's world seems it would be too still for me. And I know that we picked Logic and Wicked earlier because we were, put off by the nonsenseness of all of the crazy things that happen. But I feel like the Bone World would be just weird enough that I would be satisfied.
Okay, I'm going to pick Nancy's underworld. Like I say, sometimes I like stillness and the quiet. And the idea of standing like a statue appeals to me.
Yeah. Okay. Would you rather age very slowly, so being 100 years old is more like you're 60, or would you rather age in reverse, where 1 month subtracts 1 week from your age? So are you Eleanor or are you Lundy?
I'm going to age slowly because I do not want the Benjamin Button effect.
No. And then, what happens at the end? Do you just, you turn into a fetus and then you're just a fetus rolling around?
Yeah. I don't like that idea.
I don't want to be a fetus.
No. It gets... I mean, I know you say that you start life dependent, you end life dependent. But I think if you're an old person, you can still have some moderate amount of control over, I don't know, wiping your own butt.
Yeah. But you cannot wipe your butt if you are a fetus.
Exactly. I want to be a crotchety old person who can, go and buy glue to make my crafts with my Sumi hands and not be carded
Yeah.
for buying Britstick at the grocery store. I can't imagine being stuck in a 5-year-old's body with the brain of an adult.
Oh, no.
That sounds like torture. I mean, that's going down Interview with a Vampire
Yes.
kind of route. No. No, I want to be an adult in an adult body, so I will age slowly and wickedly.
Okay. Yeah, same. Definitely the same. It's also it's a little bit sad to me that Lundy essentially can, never grow up, because she made that deal when she's about to turn 18 or whatever happened in her world with the Fae, because she didn't want to turn 18, because when you turn 18 you get kicked out. So she didn't want to do that. So very cleverly, stupidly, she made a deal, and she got kicked out anyway. But she's not gonna fall in love and have a career and all of that sort of stuff. Although she does have a career. She's a teacher, but she's an 8-year-old teacher, and that's weird.
And she's never going to have the independence. She can't have independence, because the thing is, if she goes and travels to another place, what could happen? She's an 8-year-old by herself.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'll be an adult in an adult body. Thank you very much.
Yeah, same.
Last question. Would you rather be a subject of the Lord of the Dead, the Goblin King, Queen of Cakes, or Queen of Dust, who might be a spider?
I do not want to go into the world with the spiders and the bugs and the wasps and all of that stuff.
Nope.
That seems very, very creepy. I do not want to do that.
It's the Goblin King. I mean, the Goblin King just screams Jareth to me.
Right?
It's like...
Is it Jareth? If it's Jareth, I'll take the Goblin King.
Samesies. If it's not...
Probably Lord of the Dead. Because, Queen of Cakes is obviously going to be Sumi's world, since the love of her life is the candy corn farmer. She's obviously from a world made of candy.
Oh, no.
And I feel like I would just straight up die there.
Yeah. You take one breath and inhale a load of icing sugar and die.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like cake too much to be surrounded by it.
Yeah, and then would it be weird if you're just like eating a mountain or something?
I don't want to eat the Candy King farmer. I don't want to live in a gingerbread house.
No.
Don't want any of that. It sounds sticky.
Yeah, no.
I've got enough weight problems without adding to those complications. Now I'm going to go with Dawn of the Dead. I'm going to stick with my aesthetic. I'm going to remain true to my soul.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like I probably should too, because the Goblin King came from the world that Cade came from, called Prism, and it was very like fairy tale-ish. So
Which just screams labyrinth.
Yeah.
You have no power over me. Do I not? Gotta keep you out the door though. Let the door use it.
Yeah. So I should probably also go with Lord of the Dead, because it's probably not Jareth.
I mean, you could knock on the door and see who answers, and then make a decision.
Yeah, but did I pick the right door, or am I gonna, go into that tunnel with all the hands?
Oh, that's not a good one.
Mm-mm.
It's a bit grabby.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Lord of the Dead.
Be safe.
Yeah. Safe. Okay. Favorite final thought quote. What do you have?
I've got 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you sensible ones first.
Sure.
This world is unforgiving and cruel to those it judges as even the slightest bit outside the norm. Yep.
Judgy bitches.
Judgy bitches. She was a woman with something to protect that made her more dangerous than they could ever have suspected.
Yes.
Okay, this one's a long one, but it's for the last line.
Okay.
Listen carefully. Where did you find the whipped cream? He asked. You had milk, I had science, said Jack. It's amazing how much culinary achievement can be summarised by that sentence. cheese making, for example, the perfect intersection of milk, science, and foolish disregard for the laws of nature. And I've got my little Gouda. Look at my little Gouda.
Oh, you got
He's
your
so
little
cute.
cheese. Your little cheese squeeze.
Squeezy, squeeze, squeezy. So soft, so soft. I'm going to put you on the potato later. We'll have a moment.
Okay.
What have you got?
I've got 4. Some of them are serious, some of them are not. Real is a 4-letter word, and I'll thank you to use it as little as possible while you live under my roof.
I like that one.
Who wouldn't want to go down an impossible staircase in the bottom of a trunk? I want to. You can't paint underpants. Well, you can, but then they come out all stiff and no one believes you didn't mess them. And finally, this one's very, very serious. We notice the silence of men. We depend upon the silence of women.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes, I had that one as well, and I was like, that's just amazing.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. It's such a good mix of funny commentary story, like snippets, like, you know, the cheese and stuff, but also there's some fantastic, like, really gritty quotes.
Yes.
In 165 pages.
I know.
I can't say enough good things.
No, it's amazing.
Read the book.
Yeah.
Join the book club.
Join book club on Discord. Find Fictional Hangover on Discord. See our posts on social media on how to join the Discord.
Go to the website, fictionalhangover.com, and find the link there.
Discord. If you liked this, try this. What are you going to suggest?
Well, I haven't read a lot of Portal fantasy books that I could recall while thinking about it. The Thousand Doors of January I'm not going to recommend. You can listen to the audiobook.
Listen
that's
to
fine,
the audiobook, because the audiobook was great, but
loan an audiobook from the library.
yes.
And enjoy the narration.
Yes. Enjoy January Lavoie being 3 people in a trench coat.
Yes. However, I'm going to recommend, because I've seen this recommended quite a lot in the bookstores and on library websites and in lists, A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. And I think V.E. Schwab's one of these where I've read a few of her pieces, and some of them are fantastic, some of them are okay, but she's an accessible writer.
Yes.
And this one is hashtag not so tenuous link. Kel is one of the last Antari, magicians with a rare coveted ability to travel between parallel Londons. Grey, red, white, and once upon a time, black. Kel was raised in Arnis, Red, London, and officially serves the Marish Empire's ambassador, travelling between the frequent bloody regime changes in White London and the court of George III in the dullest of Londons. The one without any magic left to see. Unofficially, Kel is a smuggler, servicing people willing to pay for even the smallest glimpses of a world they'll never see. It's a defined hobby with dangerous consequences, which Kel is now seeing firsthand. After exchange goes awry, Kel escapes to Grey London and runs into Delia Bard, a cut purse with lofty aspirations. She first robs him, then saves him from a deadly enemy, and finally forces Kel to spirit her to another world for a proper adventure. Now perilous magic is afoot and treachery lurks in every turn. To save all of the worlds, they'll first need to stay alive.
Ooh.
Staying alive is a good thing. You need to get first.
Yes.
Generally point 1 of any plan.
Yes. Yes.
So it does sound interesting.
Yes.
If you ever going to London. She harkens back to...
You are in London.
You are... Amanda, you are in London. You are in London. Wink. Wink. Please see our social medias for our best moments from 2023.
Yes, please.
Right, what have you got to recommend?
Well, I am going to suggest one that I have not read, but I do have it checked out currently, and I am going to listen to the audiobook. And I just feel like everyone should know that the audiobook is only 3 hours long. So it's going to be
nice.
a tiny little, just delicious chunk of a book, I can only imagine.
I could listen to that before I go to bed tonight.
I know, because we listen at least 2 times speed, if not more. Okay, so it's called Finna by Nino Cipri. When an elderly customer at a Swedish big box furniture store, but not that one, slips through a portal to another dimension, it's up to 2 minimum wage employees to track her across the multiverse and protect their company's bottom line. Multi-dimensional swashbuckling would be hard enough, but those 2 unfortunate souls broke up a week ago. Oh, it's going to be terrible. To find the missing granny, Ava and Jules will brave carnivorous furniture, swarms of identical furniture spokespeople, and the deep resentment simmering between them. Can friendship blossom from the ashes of their relationship? In infinite dimensions, all things are possible.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to this tonight before I go to
Yeah,
bed.
sounds super fun. It kind of gave me horror store vibes a little bit because it's not that store.
It's not that. For legal reasons, it's not that one.
Yeah. Sounds super fun.
Well, I'm suffering from insomnia right now, so this is going to be my 3 o'clock in the morning lesson.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. Might as well fill the time with practicality.
Yes.
Do we have anything on the new and indie spotlight?
Yes, we do. I found this one scouring the internet for fantastic new things coming out this year.
Mm-hmm.
This is called Times Agent by Brenda Peinado, and it comes out in August. So we've got a little while to wait before this one comes out, but it sounds very interesting. What would you do given another universe? A do-over. 40 years ago, archaeologist Raquel and her biologist wife Marlena once dreamed of the mysteries they would unlock in their respective fields using pocket universes. Geographically small, hidden offshoots of reality, each with its own fast or slow time dilation relative to Earth time. And the future they would open up for their daughter. But that was then. 40 years later, Raquel is in disgrace. Marlena lives in a pocket universe Raquel wears around her neck and no longer speaks to her. What's left of their daughter's consciousness resides in a robotic dog, and time is a commodity controlled by corporations squeezing out every last penny they can. So, when a new pocket universe appears, one that might hold the key to her failed calling, Raquel seizes one last chance to redeem herself to her wife, live up to her own failed ideals, and confront what it means to save something, or someone, from time.
Oh, interesting.
Pocket universes sounds really cool, and also their daughter is a dog.
Fur babies are just as real as human babies.
But it was a real human baby, and then it became a robot dog.
Yeah, well, it's just more manageable that way, isn't it?
Yes. I don't know. It sounds very interesting. Oh. I found that. Oh, I should say where I found that from. I found that on a website very aptly titled with this episode, everybook.adoorway.com.
Oh.
Yeah, right? It's perfect. Perfect.
To be fair, it doesn't matter what the book was about. You had to recommend something from that.
Right,
website.
I know. Okay, so that's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. Look out for our Would You Rather polls and monthly challenges on social media. Don't forget about our book club on Discord, where we're talking about this book series right now. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover-themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok and YouTube at Fictional Hangover. And find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fictionalhangover. If you like this episode, check out our others and be sure to rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. And finally, special thanks to Liz Emerson for our music. You can find her on Facebook and Patreon. Thanks for listening.